Hey, this is Ryan Levesque here, and welcome back to the final installment of the Choose Your Market and Start the Right Business training. It's awesome to be back here with you. And in today's session, we're going to look at the final phase of the Choose Your Market, Start the Right Business process, which is how to find your mob. That is a large group of hungry customers all in one place who will buy what it is that you're planning on selling in the market that you're planning on going into. Now, I can't wait to get into this portion of the training. But before we do that, I want to first begin by saying thank you so much for providing your feedback once again in parts 1, 2, and 3 of this training so far. As you know, it's the first time that I've ever delivered this training before, first time I've ever revealed this process that I've used to successfully enter 23 different markets. And I truly appreciate your feedback because it helps me understand what's made sense to you, what hasn't made sense. It's allowed me to modify and adapt and improve the training ultimately for you. I want to let you know that I personally read every single response when you take the moment, you take the time to tell me what you've loved about the training and what can be improved about the training. Also, I want to let you know, quick reminder once again, the recording of the special session, No List, No Problem at Ask Live is something that which you received as a special bonus as part of the Choose Your Market training, is now available on replay on the replay page. So in that session, I invited 5 of our Ask Method Masterclass students to share how they were able to get the customer feedback that they needed to learn more about what market they wanted to enter, what model and what products they decided to create, and how to understand and reach their mob, even though they didn't yet have a list. And in some cases, didn't yet know what businesses they were even going to start. Now, there are tons of great insights that I think are going to be highly relevant to you as you choose your market in that session. And I want to let you know that that recording is available to you now. We've emailed you access to the details for how to access that. It's the same link and password that you use to access the rest of the Choose Your Market course replays. All right, before we dive into mob, quick recap of what we covered so far and an intro into mob. So far in the Choose Your Market process, if you followed along, you know that there are 3 phases of the Choose Your Market process. There's market, which is who you're going to serve, model, what it is that you're going to sell, and mob, where you're going to find the people that you're going to serve. And in each of these phases, there are 3 main steps: brainstorm, test, and choose. So, excuse me. The purpose of the market phase is to find 3 markets that fit within the market sweet spot. In other words, they're not too big, not too small. And they have the 5 market must-haves. They're an evergreen market, enthusiast market, a market that has a big ticket back-end opportunities, a market that has recurring income potential, and a market that has affiliate opportunities. Then we looked at the 3 market model combinations that fit within the competitive sweet spot. So not too many competitors, but not too few. And we wanted to look for competitors who were successful in spite of themselves. In other words, they have 3 key gaps, or what we call competitive don't-haves, in their model or service delivery. And that is a segmentation gap. In other words, they're not applying segmentation in their marketing. An email marketing gap, and that is they're not using email marketing, or they are not using email marketing efficiently. And number 3, a one-click upsell gap, and that is they don't have a one-click upsell strategy, or they're not using a one-click upsell strategy efficiently. And now that you have your market model combination that you know is in that sweet spot and that ticks all the right boxes when it comes to the market must-haves and the competitive don't-haves, what we're doing is we're looking to find as large of a mob as possible within that market model combination sweet spot. And to understand why finding the largest mob possible is so important, I thought it'd be helpful to talk a little bit about, I think, a story that can be used as a very powerful and helpful analogy to help you think about when it comes to looking for your mob. So this analogy follows one of my true loves in this world. And no, it's not Lego. It's something of mine that you probably haven't heard me talk a whole lot about. It's an obsession of mine, and that obsession, believe it or not, is chicken tenders. Yes, chicken tenders, as in the food. See, I love chicken tenders. Ever since I was a kid, like chicken tenders have been my absolute favorite food. And some have said it's been a bit of an obsession of mine. So one of the most embarrassing stories of my entire life is one time I was dared to eat 100 McDonald's chicken McNuggets, and I actually did it in one setting. I know it's disgusting. It's unbelievable. But I actually did it 100, 250-piece chicken McNuggets, family boxes, all in one setting. But a slightly less disgusting story, but a story that will tell you a little bit about how obsessed I am with chicken tenders, goes back to when I was in college. When I was in college at the Ratty, which was the school cafeteria at Brown, they occasionally, like once a month, would have chicken tender day. And this was like my favorite day of the entire month. And I look forward to this day. In fact, I loved this day so much that I would get out of class. I would make sure to leave class 5 minutes early, the class before lunch, so I could rush to the Ratty and be the first in line. And here's the reason why it was such a big deal. They would only give you 4 chicken tenders in like a setting. It was like the cafeteria worker would put them on your plate. You get 4 chicken tenders in a setting. That's the max. Even if there's no one else in line behind you, that's like the max that they would do. But there's no limit to how many times you could go in line. So I would literally go through the line. I wouldn't get any other sides or any other dishes. I'd go in line, get my 4 chicken tenders, and I'd rush back around the front of the line, get 4 more chicken tenders, rush back in front of the line. And basically I would do it till I had about like 30 chicken fingers. And I would eat like crazy enough. I'd eat somewhere between like 12 and 16 in a setting. And then the extras I would bring in freezer bags, and I would put in freezer bags so I could later warm them up for a late night snack in my dorm room. That is how obsessed I am with chicken tenders. Now, the reason why that story is relevant is because when I was thinking of a good analogy to share with you in terms of how to come up with your mob, immediately this idea of chicken tenders came up. Now, I want you to imagine for a moment, let's pretend for a moment that to help understand why finding a mob is so important, I want you to think about something for a moment. I want you to imagine that you are thinking about setting up your own chicken tender restaurant. And not only would that be my favorite restaurant and I would be your best customer, but if you followed the Choose Your Market process, then you'd want to think about the following. When it comes to your markets, you would want to identify the size of the city that you want to set up your chicken tender restaurant in. Now, naturally, you wouldn't want a city that's too big, like New York City, where you might be eaten alive by competition. And also not too small, where you're, a tiny little city in the, the middle of nowhere, where there's not enough people for the restaurant to be viable. You're looking for somewhere that also has the same sort of market must-haves. A city that falls right inside the sweet spot, and a city that ideally is a growing city. Like when we're looking for a market online, we're looking for a market that's growing, right? Not a market that's declining. Ideally not a market that's cyclical, but a market that is growing. And you'd find a perfect sweet spot in my hometown here of Georgetown, Texas. Now, when it comes to thinking about your model, you'd have the right market. You have the right market that you want to serve based on the size of the city, being here in Georgetown, Texas. And now what we need to do to decide this, if the model is viable, like what it is that you're thinking about selling, in this case, a chicken tender restaurant, you'd want to look at your competition. And you want to look to see how many competitors are selling chicken tenders. Now, if nobody is selling chicken tenders in Georgetown, Texas, it probably means that someone along the way has had the idea and they've tried it and it's failed. At the same time, you also don't want to be in competition with 30 other restaurants selling chicken tenders in a city like Georgetown, Texas. But in Georgetown, Texas, there are, let's call it, 2 main sellers of chicken tenders. There's Chick-fil-A and then there's Cane's. And Chick-fil-A is obviously superior. The best chicken tenders, by the way, in the entire world, Puritan Backroom, Manchester, New Hampshire, about 15 minutes from where I grew up. Best chicken tenders on the planet that I've yet to find somewhere that is superior. All right, so you have a sweet spot, right? So you're in a competitive sweet spot. You found the market sweet spot, Georgetown, Texas, perfect size city. Model sweet spot, you know that there are 2 other competitors. So there's someone who's proven concept. Remember, pioneers get shot, settlers get rich. And now what you're trying to figure out is, and that, let's say these competitors are making money in spite of themselves. You look at Chick-fil-A, you look at Cane's, and they're doing 15 things, wrong that you could be doing instead. Now what you want to do is you want to figure out, is there a large enough mob of people that makes sense for you to reach them all at once? Now, when we look at when we look at a city like Georgetown, there are at least 3 big mobs available. So the first mob is Southwestern University, oldest university in the state of Texas. It's not going anywhere. It's been there since the early 19th century. It is not going anywhere. You've got a mob of hungry college students all in one place. So if you were to set up a restaurant, you could set it up there, and you could set up a food truck, and you're going to be right on campus, and there's a mob of people all right there that have very similar needs, wants, and desires, very similar schedules that they keep, etc. You also have a second mob in Georgetown, Texas, which is Sun City. Sun City is a 55-plus retirement community of about 15,000 people that all live in one super concentrated place. Again, these people, a very different group from college students, but you've got a mob of people that represents a very similar group of people concentrated all in one place. And you can reach all those people in a very concentrated way. In Georgetown, you also have, call them flash mobs as well. In Georgetown, you have something called the Red Poppy Festival. It's one of the biggest festivals in Central Texas. It attracts 10,000 plus people every single year over like a weekend. So that's not a forever mob like the Sun City or Southwestern, but it's a mob of people that get together all in one place. You also have other flash mobs like the Christmas on the Square. Georgetown, Texas has like voted the #1 town square in the state of Texas, so it attracts a lot of people for like the town Christmas stroll. There is Thanksgiving Day parade. There's just a bunch of flash mobs as well. Now, I want you to compare Georgetown with Taylor. So Taylor, Texas is 20 miles down the road. It is a similarly sized city, but unlike Georgetown, it's much more spread out. It doesn't have these concentrated communities. It doesn't have a Sun City. It doesn't have a Southwestern University. It doesn't have even these flash mobs. And so even though, call it Taylor and Georgetown, similar sized cities in a similar area in Texas, both of which have Chick-fil-A and Cane's, so same 2 competitors, the difference between these 2 is the fact that one of them has the presence of these mobs, these communities, these groups all in one place, and the other, Taylor, is dispersed and spread out. There's no way to reach people all in one place. Instead, you have to reach people individually in their homes in smaller groups, one by one. So when you think about this, you want to think about how this relates to the business that you're thinking about building and both the market you're going into and the model that you're thinking about pursuing. If you think about some of the most passionate customers in the world, Apple has a mob, Lego has a mob, Tesla has a mob. They have groups of people online who all gather together in one place. I forget the name of the Apple forum, but it's Apple Geeks or whatever. Lego definitely has forums, many forums online. Tesla even has a forum. Before I bought my car, I spent a ton of time in the Tesla forum, just reading other questions that people were having and looking through the answers and figuring out, what I wanted to do and customizing my vehicle, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So each of these big brands have mobs of hungry, passionate, and engaged crowds. And that is what you're looking for. You're looking for the presence of a mob for your market model combination. And if you don't take that into account, you could easily be, even though the market makes sense and the model makes sense, if you don't have the presence of mobs, then you are potentially putting yourself in a situation where you're going to be setting up your chicken finger shop in Taylor, Texas, which is destined to fail. All right. So question is, where do you find these mobs online? And the answer is that's where the 3-step framework that we've used in the market and model and now mob steps comes into play, where we brainstorm, test, and choose. Now, the brainstorm process is where we find this mob. So let's take a look at the ways you can brainstorm how to find your mob. One of the best and easiest ways to search for your mob is to begin by searching for your market keyword. And you want to search in 3 key places. So for example, if your market is home brewing is your keyword. If your market is orchid care is your keyword. If your market is memory improvement or improved memory is your keyword. If your market is beekeeping is your keyword. And what you want to do is you want to use that search term in 3 key places: Google, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Now we're going to talk about how you actually do this to find the presence of communities, groups, and forums online, and how to identify if those mobs of people represent a large enough concentration that it makes sense to greenlight your market, model, mob combination and continue to pursue your idea. So let's talk about that. So when it comes to, there are three main places, as I mentioned: Google, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And the way we're going to brainstorm possible mobs in your market is by beginning with Google. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to Google, type in your main keyword search term, and you're going to want to add the word forum after that keyword. You can also look at the words group and community and association, but forum is the one that you really want to focus on. So the way you do this is, and I'll pull up, let me pull up my computer. And what I'm going to do is I am going to switch things real quick. I'll do this, and I will put this back here. And what I'm going to do is pull up my browser for you, and we're going to go through this process together. All right, so I want to share screen. I want to share that window. All right, you should be able to see my incognito window. So what we're going to do is we're going to type in home brewing, and we're going to type in the word forum, home brewing forum. All right. And what we're looking for here is we're looking for the presence of forums and communities online. So let's take a look. I type in the word home brewing forum, and immediately what do I see? I see Beer Advocate. Let's open this in a new browser. I see Homebrew Talk. That's here. I've got Home Brewers Association. I've got Beersmith, Brewer's Friend, Forum Norm. That's definitely a forum. Homebrew Chatter, that's definitely a forum, and Homebrew Co. Awesome. And I've got ratebeer.com. Okay, so I got a bunch of forums here, right? Now, what this tells me is, and I'll just pause here for just a moment, what you want to be doing here is you want to then go to Facebook, and for Facebook, I'm going to have to be logged, and LinkedIn, I'm going to have to be logged in. So let me walk you through that process. All right, let me look through. Let's see, Facebook.com and LinkedIn, LinkedIn.com. Okay. All right. Right. Okay. Let me unshare this screen. So we've done. How do I do this? Oh, come on. Help me out. How do I do this? Oh, it's way up here. All right, stop share. And then what I want to do is I'm going to pull Facebook, and I'm doing this on multiple monitors, and I'm doing it without an assistant today. So just bear with me. Promise this will be worth it. All right, we're going to start with Facebook, and what I'm going to do is share my screen, share screen, and I'm going to share Facebook. Okay, share screen. Okay, cool. Good. All right, awesome. So what we're going to do now is, so on Google, I'll just do Google on this so we have it all in one place. I just didn't want to skew the results from being logged in. If I type in home brewing forum, okay, I'm going to see a lot of the same ones. So I'll just do this on this so we have it all in one place. Homebrew Talk. All right, Homebrewers Association, Beersmith. I don't need to open up all of them, but here, a lot of the same ones that we found in the incognito. And then this one from the UK, and that I mean, that's enough. We've got quite a few. All right. So what you want to do on Google is you want to focus on the first page, right? So just focus on the first page. You don't need to find the forums on pages 2, 3, 4, etc. Then what you want to do is you want to do the same thing in Facebook. But this time, we don't have to type in the word forum. We're just going to type in home brewing. Let's make sure that gives us what we want. And then what you want to do is at the top, you want to look specifically for groups. That's going to give us our groups, right? And so let's see, what do we got here? We've got home brewing, 3,500 members, so that's worth it. We got this one here. That's D&D. That must be Dungeons and Dragons. Home brewing Australia. It's a small one. Philippines bean. You just kind of keep scrolling down. UK home brewing community. Yeah, and so there'll be some ones that we will find in here as well. And I'm going to do it as 2 words just to make sure. Okay, cool. Here we go. So we're getting some more home brewing Australia. Yeah, home beer brewing. That one we've already found. Yeah, so I probably should have done this as 2 words. All right, cool. So we've got some here. I'm going to show you what we're going to do with this information in just a moment. And then we'll do the same thing on LinkedIn. And we'll go to, type in this, home brewing. It might ask us to, okay, yeah. So they wanted us 1 word. Interesting. All right, so I'm going to do home brewing. And again, I'm going to look for groups. And I'm going to look for all the groups. Doesn't look like there's a whole bunch here on LinkedIn. Okay, so it gives me 3 places. Now, here's the deal. In some markets, you're going to find that you're going to get a lot of search results from Facebook, but not a whole lot from LinkedIn. Other markets, we're going to get a whole bunch of search results from LinkedIn, not a whole lot from Facebook. Now, normally this kind of follows, LinkedIn is more of a B2B play, Facebook's more of a B2C play, and then Google kind of has overlap in both of these places. But it's good to search each of these 3 places. These are the 3 main places to be looking for groups online. Now, let's talk about what you actually do with this information, because this is the important part. What you want to do is pick out the top 10 that you find in each platform. So we have a worksheet that we are sending you with this to list out the top 10 forums, communities, and groups that you find on each of these platforms, and you want to do it based on size, based on memberships, the most people in each platform. Now, you can see in some of these cases, it's really easy to see, like in LinkedIn, we can see exactly how many members are in each of these. They're very small, right? Hobby Fermentation Retailers Group, 103 people. That's like the biggest one. So we can do the top 10 in LinkedIn. Facebook, we have the membership right here, right? So 1,200 members, 2,000.9. This is kombucha, so it's not a great fit. This is appropriate for 4,300 members. Cellar Dweller Home Brewing, 1,000, 1,100, 3,500 members. Excuse me. And so you have the size of each community, and just keep scrolling down. Like you'll eventually get to the end. You just keep scrolling, and eventually you'll reach the end. Some markets you'll find more results than others, but eventually you'll get to where it says end of results. See, end of results, that means there's no more. And you can just keep scrolling until you find the top 10. So you want to do this for the top 10 Facebook, top 10 LinkedIn, top 10 Google. Record these details in your Mob Brainstorm worksheet, which is a tool we are giving to you. So for Google search results, a few tips. Don't go beyond page 1. Most of the popular results are already on page 1. If you don't find like 10 relevant results, then you can try mixing up the second keyword in Google. So if you don't find like home brewing forum, you can try home brewing group, home brewing community. Generally speaking, forum is the word to look for on Google. Cool. You're gonna do the same thing for Facebook and LinkedIn. All right, now what you're looking for, when it comes to your mob, we have 2 tests that you want to be looking at. The first test is your mob sweet spot test. You've already identified you're in the sweet spot for your competitors at the model stage. You've already identified you are in the sweet spot for the size of your market in the market stage. Now you need to focus on the number of people in the mob. And what you're looking for specifically is having enough people all in one place. So what you want to do is you want to go back to the Mob Brainstorm worksheet. And that worksheet, I don't have it in front of me. I wish I did, but basically and you can do it in, you don't have to use the worksheet. You can do it on any resource, but we'll provide this resource to you, listing out the top 10 mobs in each platform, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Google. And from there, what you want to do is you want to go back to that sheet. That means you've got up to 30 possible candidates, right? So you've got, the top 10 from Facebook, top 10 from LinkedIn, top 10 from Google. So 30 possible groups, communities, and forums, right? And what you want to do is you want to find the top 5. So either star or circle or mark off which are the top 5 biggest communities across all those platforms. So what it might mean is, and what I failed to show you is like on one of these forums, let's take a look. So home brewing, let's see, usually we can see membership. Let's see, some of these replies, homebrew recipes, home brewing, forums, community. Let's see, how many comments, posts. All right, here we go. Members online, we got 30, where the heck was it? Let's see, bar, it just gave it to me. Members online, 30. Okay, so members online now. I think this is, all right, so 3,930 members online. We spent a little bit of digging. We should be able to find how many, new members. Should be able to, usually you can see, let's see, members online now. Members online now. That's online right now. We should be able to see staff online right now. Usually there's a way to see how many members, and if I spent a few more minutes, I would find this. I don't want to spend too much time. Let's take a look at this one here. All right, recent threads. Okay, homebrew talk. Okay, let's see, here we go. Members, okay, here we go. Member list, you can see right here, 74,000 members, right? So most of these, you'll be able to find it relatively easy. You may need to dig around a little bit to find it. How many members in this one? This might ask me to log in to get this data. Most online ever, what's on today, 600 topics. There we go, 24,584 members. So it gives us our stats right there. So that's how you're gonna add up the ones that you find from Google. All right, so, okay, cool. And then so what you're doing here is you're trying to find the top 5 groups, communities, and forums in your niche. And what you wanna do is identify the top 5, and you wanna add up the total number of members in the top 5. So it's 5, not 5 in Google, 5 in LinkedIn, 5 in Facebook, 5 across all of them. So your top 5, 4 of them might come from Facebook, 1 might come from LinkedIn. 2 might come from Google, 2 might come from Facebook, 1 might come from LinkedIn. It doesn't really matter how it breaks down. You're looking for the top 5. What we're looking for here is a concentration of people in a small number of communities. What we don't want to have is a very dispersed market where you've got, 1,000 communities with 50 people in each one. No, we're looking for a small number of communities that have a large number of people. At the same time, we're also, we want to look at enough communities to make sure that the market dynamics are such where you don't have one big forum where everybody's there. The reason for that is if you have one forum where the way to reach the one forum which represents the only mob of people in your market, then they have a monopoly on the market. And you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you like all the people who are gathering together in that market online all gather in one place, because then that community or forum or group has all the power, and oftentimes you're not going to be able to easily reach them. They'll probably have strong rules in place where you can't reach out to them and connect with them, et cetera, et cetera. All right. Here is the first test. The first test is a size test, just like market size and competitor size, number of competitors. Here we are looking for the size of membership across these top five forums. And here is the red light, yellow light, green light test. If you have fewer than 50,000 people across the top 5 forums in your market, that is a red light. If you have between 50,000 and 100,000 people in the top 5 forums, it is a yellow light. And if you have more than 100,000 people in the top 5 forums, communities and groups, it is a green light. Now, the reason why this test is different, and we're looking for like the largest number of people in a small number of groups, is because with the model test, we've already determined that you're in the competitive sweet spot. So you've already identified that ideally we have, somewhere, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 competitors that are in your space, and that's it. So we've already identified that there's a small number of competitors. And when you have a large mob of people and a small number of competitors, enough competitors that you've proven concept, then the supply-demand curve is such where there is a ton of demand, a lot of people in the market, and not a whole lot of competitors serving that market. Does that make sense? So to put it simply, you'd rather have a situation when you've got an added up mob of 100,000 people and just 2 competitors than you would then be in a situation where you've got 10,000 people and 20 competitors. Does that make sense? So that's why we're doing this. We're looking to see evidence of a large number of people gathering together all in one place online and a small number of competitors serving that mob. Okay. But like the other tests, the size of the mob is not enough to determine whether this step is a green light. We have a second test when it comes to looking at mob, and that is the mob must-have test. So just like in your market test, where we wanted to make sure that the market has the must-haves and your model has the competitors have the don't-haves, in your mob, you want your mob to have certain characteristics. You want the communities, forums, groups online that you're looking at to have certain characteristics. And those characteristics are what we call the 3 mob must-haves. The first mob must-have is frequency. So just because a community has, or a forum has 24,000 people in it, what is the frequency? How frequently are people posting in the group? Is the group a ghost town or is it a bustling city? You want to make sure that the frequency of interactions and comments has happened recently. That is, it's happened in the last days or hours. An abandoned a forum that's not well attended is a sign that the mob may no longer be present. Things go out of style, tech changes, and it can be a ghost town. So, for example, let's take a look at one of the forums that we found in the orchid care space. So if we go to, as another example, if we go to, I'm just going to type in, again, I'm logged in, so I might not see orchid care forum. I'm not sure if this is going to pop up. Orchid Geeks, that's a big one. Orchid Board. Okay, let's take a look at this one. So let's go to RV, Orchid Works. Let's take a look at this one here. All right. So in this community, let's see what kind of size we're looking at here. What do you got? How many total users? Okay, so we've got 12,000 members. Most users ever online was 20,000. I'm not sure exactly how that works. 44,000 threads. Okay, cool. Let's take a look at kind of the recency of these posts. And I might be able to way to get this right away. So if I take a look at, all right, let's take a look at current active users. I'm going to find it here. Welcome to a newest member. Just 1 second. I might need to go up one more. Okay, let's take a look. I might go up one more. Orchid Tots. I think if I go one up, it's going to give me what I'm looking for. All right. Good. Okay, cool. So what this gives me, if we look halfway through the page, what this tells me is the last post, right? So let's take a look at what kind of action we're getting. So last post was today at 4:24, 12:55, 12:49, 9:38, 9:29, 9:27, 8:16, 11. Okay, so I'm getting about, what is that, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 posts per day today. This one has a lot of action, 23 replies, 337 views. That's pretty cool. So I'm getting some decent action in this forum. So I'm looking for that. So that's decent. It's not like crazy activity. I'm wondering if we found, let's see, one of our home brewing ones. Let's see if we can get that as a point of reference. Let's go look at Home Brewers Association. What's the most active one? 24,000 members. Let's take a look at, okay. Let's take a look at this forum. I'm not sure if I can get that same view, but look at this. I'm looking at today, 3 o'clock, 247. Yesterday, today, 315, 124, 254. So this one here, I'm getting some, like, looks like I've probably got at least a dozen or two posts happening today. So this is looking pretty active. And that's just from that one topic. So if I drill deeper, there's probably, go like in brewing discussion. What do we got? I've got one today, a couple yesterday. All right, cool. So it's similarly active. Facebook has a cool feature. If we look at the activity of a post, of a group, let's take a look at, none of these were super big. What if we type in, I think there's some big ones. Type in like beekeeping. I know that's one of the other ones I took a look at. All right, 27,000. Let's take a look at this one. One thing that's cool about Facebook is it'll tell you some stats. Take a look at that. 34 new posts today. So it tells me exactly how many new posts, obviously 27,000 members. You can go back one. So Facebook is really handy. 10 plus posts a day. Let's take a look at 232 posts a day. Holy smokes. That is a super active group, right? So the first test, the first part of the second mob test is frequency. So what's the frequency of posts? How many posts are happening each day? Second thing that you want to look for is depth. So first is frequency. Second is depth. So what is the depth of interaction in each group? Just because they're 10 posts, 7 posts, 230 posts, are people posting one-word questions? Are they posting deep, detailed, and thoughtful replies? What does that look like? So if we take a look at, like in the Orchid example that we took a look at, let's pull it up here. I just went to a thread that I had found earlier. Let's take a look at that. Put it in 2 places. All right, it's right here. So we can take a look at what kind of responses are we getting. So we look at this one here. I recently acquired both orchids. Most of them are cuttings, blah, blah, blah. And okay, I hope this will survive this time. Okay, she's talking about the genus and the species and all that good stuff. And let's see, we're getting 1, 2, 3, 4. The original poster posting a photo. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Keeps going on. Page 2. Let's take a look at this. Awesome. So, what we're getting here is we have like 19 responses to this, and people are taking time to post and upload photos, right? So this is, evidence that this is an ongoing, this is a deep, conversation happening, right? And this is, it's posted from a mobile device. So that's a relatively long response for someone on mobile. So the responses aren't like super crazy long, like, 10 paragraphs, but I mean, take a look at this. We got 2 pages of stuff, probably, 20 something replies. People are taking the time to post photos and mark things off. So that's evidence of depth, right? So it's the second thing that we're looking for. And the last thing that we're looking for is growth. So is the community growing? Again, I mentioned if we take a look at, let's take a look at one of the groups on Facebook in the Orchid Care space as an example. All right, taking the Orchid Care space. Let's take a look at this. 36,000 members, 365 new members in the last 35 days. So it's growing at about 1% per month at that rate. So it's growing, right? What we want to make sure we're not seeing is 36,000 members and 3 members, 1 member in the last 30 days, no members in the last 30 days. So first test for the mob is the size of the mob. That's the one where you're looking for an overall, the top 5 added up to be over 100,000. And just as a point of reference, the home brewing market, when we went through this exercise recently, because that's always changing, we went through this exercise recently, we found over 400,000 members across the top 5 forum communities and groups online in the home brewing market. In the orchid care market, it was about 167,000. In the beekeeping market, it was about 145,000 members. And interestingly, in the memory improvement market, Improved Memory, it was about 53,000 members. And so what that means is in memory improvement, it's kind of in that yellow range and barely in the yellow range, right? Almost in the red range. And that makes sense because as you've heard me talk about earlier in this training, the improved memory market was one that we definitely felt we hit a ceiling in the growth of that business for a couple reasons, obviously, one of which was the fact that it's not a market with PWMs, players with money. It's poor students as opposed to wealthy individuals with disposable income. And talking about the size of the mob, the reachable universe online, relatively small as well in terms of the mob and where we find people. Okay, cool. So we did that. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to review your mobs that fall within the sweet spot and analyze their data against the mob must-have. So you take those the top 5 communities, forums, and groups in your market that you found from your initial list of potentially 30, the top 10 from Facebook, top 10 from LinkedIn, top 10 from the first page of Google. You've got 30 possibilities. You narrow it down to your top 5. You add them all up. If it's more than 100,000 members, green light, 50 to 100,000, yellow light, less than 50,000, red light. Now, assuming you're in the green light on that first test for your market model combination, then what you want to do is you want to analyze each of the mobs based on their frequency, their depth, and their growth. And what you're looking for is there evidence across the board that the mobs you've analyzed have high frequency, have depth, and they have growth. Now, what you want to do is if in this second test, if the mob in the market model combination you've looked at has all 3 of the mob must-haves, that is high frequency, depth of response, and growth, evidence of growth in the communities online, then it is a green light for that second test. If only 2 of those conditions are true, maybe it's high frequency, it's growing, but just not a lot of depth, it's a yellow light. And if 0 or 1 of those conditions are true, then it is a red light. And just like the market and the model tests, for the mob test, there are 2 of them. There's the size and the must-haves. The worse color trumps the better color. And what that means is if one of the tests is red and the other test is green, well, that means red trumps green. It means the market model mob combination is a red light. If one is yellow and one is green, yellow trumps green, and it is a yellow light. And ideally what you're looking for is a market model mob combination that is a green light. And that's where you want to be at the end of this process. We've narrowed it down from 3 possibilities down to 1 market model mob combination that represents a green light. Now, if you have more than 1 green light, awesome. Now you can decide which of these that you want to pursue. But the goal is to walk away with 1 market model mob combination that represents the green light. Now, let's talk about next steps. The next steps to complete your homework after this module is to go back after this training to complete your homework. You want to end up with, as I mentioned, 1 green light market model mob combination. This is the culmination of the 3-part process we've gone through in this Choose Your Market, Start the Right Business training. Now, if you think about this, then you can think about I'm going to unshare this so we don't look at this Facebook post for this part of the training here. Let's see. Stop share. There we go. All right. Cool. I don't know if I can let me try sharing something because I want to do something. Let's see, more, share. I want a whiteboard. All right, let's see if I can play with this. All right, let's see if this works. All right, this should work for me. Good. All right, let's see if we can make this work. All righty. Cool. All right, so we talked about homework. Ooh, I don't want to do that. Erase. Okay, there we go. This may or may not work. Hoping it'll work for us. All right. Okay. So when you look at this process, in a nutshell, you can think about it like this. First, we've got at the outer. Oops, I want a draw. Okay, cool. I can do it like this. We have an outer circle that you can think about being here, and that is your market. Right? It's the first circle that we look at. Now, second, we have within that, we have this. We have our model. Move this down. Oops. I guess wherever I draw it, that has to be where it is. All right, next we have our model. After we have our model, we have our mob. I'll put that right here. Okay. And that's what we've covered. So market is who you're going to serve. Model is what are you going to sell. And your mob is where are you going to find them. Now, by undertaking this process, you are in the ideal position to launch your new venture or product and giving yourself the best chance of success. But once you've done this, there's one final circle that you need to be aware of, and that is right in the center of this diagram and this process. And that is here. And that is the final M, which is your message. Now, your message, you already know who you are going to serve. You already know what you're going to sell, and you even know where you're going to find your customers online. And the question that you need to figure out now is your message. What is your message that you are going to share with your audience? How are you going to speak to your mom so your offer reaches them in a meaningful way and has your ideal customers buying from you over and over again? And the best way to get clear on your message is to ask. Because when you can understand your audience even better than they understand themselves, they naturally believe that you can solve their problems and your audience becomes magnetically attracted to you. And this is true whether you're just starting out or if you've been in business for a while. Whether you work exclusively with a handful of clients in a deep way or if you have hundreds of customers. Whether you sell information and services, as I recommend, direct to consumers or to other businesses. And this is where the ask method begins. See, the ask method is a process that helps you understand your audience, to know exactly what to say and when, through the strategic use of surveys, quizzes, and assessments, and segmentation funnels. The ask method is based on more than a decade of research as practical, and it's a process I've used that to have success in literally dozens of markets. And it's one that I've helped my students with in thousands of markets. In fact, in the last year alone, I've had over 2,000 students enroll in my Ask Method Masterclass. And that's just in the last few months alone. Many of these students have done extremely well applying the step-by-step process that I outlined in this course. So now that once you finally choose, the next step is to ask. And I'd love to see you part of the Ask Method Masterclass the next time that we open up enrollment to students. So with that being said, you've identified your market, who you're going to serve. You've identified your model, what you're going to sell. You've identified your mob, where you're going to find people. And the next step, now that you've chosen, is to ask. And that's when we focus on the fourth and final M, which is your message. And that is something that we do step by step in the Ask Method Masterclass, which is broken down into 3 phases: discover, segment, launch. But before we wrap things up, I'd like one last time to ask for your feedback. I'd love to hear from you. What was your biggest aha from this training? What gaps do you see from this particular module? What can I do to help tailor and improve this training for you? If you go to the URL www.askmethod.com/choose4, I'm going to pull up that link here in my screen, share screen. And we want to go to, let's go to this one here, Google Chrome. Yes, share that. This page here, if you go to askmethod.com/choose and the number 4, if you could kindly take a moment to do this right now, it's going to help me serve you, and it's going to help me in the Q&A session that we still have coming up to make sure that I cover the questions that are most important to you. So first question, what was your single biggest takeaway or aha moment on today's training? Please take a moment to do this. Ryan, aha. Next, please take a moment to answer and if there's anything that was confusing or that you're still not clear on from today's training. Ryan, question. And then that last but not least, if there's anything that we didn't cover today or a gap that you'd like me to cover in an upcoming session, please take a moment to fill that in now. Ryan, gap. Once you've done that, if you'd like to provide your name, your email, and your phone number, if you'd like to let me know who you are, or if you prefer to remain anonymous, that is perfectly fine as well. So, in conclusion, there you have the Choose Your Market, Start the Right Business program. You've learned the 3-part process of how to choose, starting with market, model, and mob. We went through the brainstorm, test, choose process for each of those phases. And you've identified who you're going to serve, what you're going to sell, and where you're going to find those people. The final step, and this is where the Ask Method begins, is defining the final M, which is your message. Now, before we wrap up, I want to remind you that we have a live Q&A session that is happening this Thursday, December 7th. Be sure to be on the call if you'd like to get help with any of your specific questions, and I'm going to try to cover as many of your questions as possible. Links to the Q&A call have been sent to you via email. You do need to register for this call to be part of this. I'm looking forward to seeing you there on the call, and I want to wish you a great rest of your day, great rest of your week, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.